back. My name is Brijesh, and today we are going to cover the chapter number 9 of class 7th. So earlier we have already covered last 8 chapters. So if you have not watched those chapters, then you can go ahead and watch. In this particular chapter, we will understand about the making of the regional culture. So it will provide us the little bit information about the art and architecture and how the different art developed, such as the miniature paintings, and the little bit information about the dance forms. Okay, and also about the different cultures, that how they evolve. So before starting the chapter, I would request you to like and subscribe the channel and also enable the notification if you have not done yet. So let us move ahead and understand the chapter in detail. So first it is talking about the Chera. So earlier in previous chapters we have already seen that how Cheras, Cholas and Pandyas, these were the Sangam period dynasties who were ruling in the southern part of the Indian subcontinent. So let us understand. So it is specifically providing the information about Cheras. So the connection between the language and the region, the Cheras kingdom of the Mahodayapuram was established in the 9th century in southern western part of the peninsula, the part of present-day Kerala. So the important information for us is the kingdom of Mahodayapuram was in the present-day Kerala. Okay, the rulers introduced the Malayalam language and the script in their inscriptions. So the language they were using was the Malayalam in the script, which they used in the inscriptions. So remember this. Okay. So this particular thing is providing little bit information about that how the linguistic developments were happening in the Indian subcontinent and how the rulers were obtaining different languages. Okay, and because we have already understood that how after 4th century, after the rule of the Guptas, that how Sanskrit got the prominence and became the language of the kingdoms and the most prominent people of the kingdom, such as the rulers or the rich community of the particular kingdom. So we have already seen all these developments. So let us understand the further development. The Cheras also draw upon the Sanskrit traditions. The 14th century text, I have already underlined the text. Few text becomes really important and their author as well. But here the information about the text has been provided. The name of the text was the Leela Tilakam, dealing with the grammar and poetics, was composed in Mani Problem. So what is Mani Problem? So first let us understand about this particular text. It was the name of this particular text was Leela Tilakam, and it was dealing with the grammar and poetics. Okay, and now it has provided a term such as Mani Problem. So it was literally means the diamonds and corals. Why it has used? It is referring to two languages, and it was Sanskrit and the regional languages. So we have already established the fact that after when the Sanskrit got the prominence, along with the regional language, Sanskrit was also getting utilized or getting used in the kingdoms of these big kings or the rulers who were ruling in the different part of the Indian subcontinent. Okay, so it will provide you some type of understanding that how gradually the culture develops and how the different languages also comes into the prominence. Okay, so the rulers, religious traditions, and the talking about the Jagannath cult. So religious culture grew around the religious traditions, such as the best example of this is Jagannath. What is the meaning of Jagannath? It has also provided it. The literally Lord of the world. The means Lord Vishnu. This particular temple, Jagannath, was the Lord Vishnu, and this particular temple has been constructed at Puri in Odisha. Okay, so remember this. The Jagannath temple is at Puri in Odisha. Okay, so the local tribal people make the wooden images of the deities. So the deities which are there have been made out of wood. So these smaller details become really important. The icon of Balbhadra, Subhadra, and the Jagannath. The palm leaf many scriptures have been shown here. This particular manuscripture it is talking about. In the 12th century, the rulers of the Ganga dynasty. So few details. Once again, I will emphasize, such as in 12th century, the ruler of Ganga dynasty. Remember the dynasty, Ganga dynasty. Who was the ruler? Anantavarman. Decided to erect the temple of Purushottam Jagannath at Puri. Who constructed the temple? It was Anantavarman when he constructed it in 12th century. Okay, so he decided to construct this temple of Jagannath at Puri. Okay, so in 1230, there is a king. Okay, Anang Bhim III dedicated his kingdom to the deity and proclaimed himself as the deputy of the god. So several rulers used to do these type of activities, that they just used to proclaim themselves as the deputy of the god and used to tell that I am just ruling on the behalf of God. So it also provides some sort of authenticity to their rules, and people also follow their instructions religiously. So there was, along with the religion thing, there was a political type of agenda was always there. Okay, so it used to provide them some sort of ease and the convenience in the administration. Okay, so the king's name is Anang Bhima III. Okay, who proclaimed himself as the deputy of the god. Okay, so let us move ahead. So the whatever the information which is not relevant for exam, we are not going to discuss, because there are a lot of information which have been provided and which is of no use for us. Okay, hence we will not going to discuss or not going to read, because it will waste our time, and when you will come again and revise, then it will help you to save the time. So let us move on. So it is providing information about Rajputs. Rajputs are often recognized as the contributing to the distinctive culture of Rajasthan. Okay, and how they contributed. So here is a prince of Raj Singh of Bikaner has been depicted in the image. Okay, the stories about Rajput heroes were recorded in the poems and songs. So we have already seen in the previous chapters as well that how Chandrabardai wrote the Prithviraj Jasro about the Prithviraj III. Okay, so these preserved the memories of the heroes and were expected to inspire the other fellows, and with their example. Okay, it used to show the strong emotions, loyalty, friendship, love, valor, and anger. All these things were there. So now it is showing a particular map. So different areas which we are going to discuss in this particular chapter, it has depicted that. Okay, so let us move ahead, and now we will talk about the Kathak, the dance form. So it is one of the classical dance forms. So how it evolved and what is the story of Kathak? So let us just read and understand the story of Kathak. The term Kathak is derived from Katha, a word used in Sanskrit and the other languages for story. The Katha were originally a caste of storytellers in temple of North India. So what is Katha and how Kathak came into the form which we see today? So there were the caste in the North India. So they were called as the Kathaks. Okay, and it was a caste of the storytellers in the temples in North India. So what they did, they who embellished their performance with the gesture and song, and Kathak began to evolving into the distinct mode of dance in 15th and 16th century. So it was 15th and 16th centuries when there was a rule of Mughal dynasty in India. Okay, and it gave the prominence to this particular art form. Remember this. The legends of Radha Krishna were enacted in the folk plays called Ras Leela. So in the different part of India, we have seen the Ram Leelas, Ras Leela. So basically, this particular form of Kathak is directly connected to the Ras Leelas. That how the story of Krishna has been depicted in some sort of dancing and singing. Okay, so there was a proper story narration. So hence these this particular style got the prominence. So under the Mughal emperor, their nobles, Kathak was performed in their court, which we just talked, where it acquired the present feature. Subsequently, it developed into two traditions or gharanas. One in the court of Rajasthan, which is called as the Jaipur Gharana, whereas the another one is a Lucknow Gharana. So remember these two prominent houses. One is Jaipur Gharana, second is Lucknow Gharana. Okay, or these are the courts as well. So under the patronage of Wajid Ali Shah. Okay, so Wajid Ali Shah was the person, the last Nawab of Awadh. It grew into major art form. So he gave the major patronage to this particular art form. Okay, so remember the name of Wajid Ali Shah of the Nawab of Awadh. it becomes important. So here an image at the left hand side has been depicted where a dance teacher, a master, is teaching the some moves. Okay, so it has depicted where in the on the Lakshman temple, which has been made constructed at Khajuraho. So remember this. So emphasis was less. So now we will talk about the characteristic of this particular art form. So emphasis was laid on the intricate and the rapid footwork, elaborate costume, as well as on the enactment of stories. So I would encourage you to watch any video which is related to Kathak. Okay, so you would be able to understand that all these things, the characteristics which we are understanding, such as emphasize on the intricate and rapid footwork, that how the footwork is used, and the about costume as well, and how they enact the stories. So you would be able to connect with the this particular dance form. Okay, so this dance form did not get any importance in the rule of the British administration. However, it survived because of the effort of the local people. Okay, so this is also recognized as the one of the 6 classical forms of the dance in the country after the independence. So we have already discussed that how this is also the one of the 6 classical forms of the dances. So we will see that which are the 5 other classical dance forms. The other dance forms are the Bharatnatyam, which belongs to Tamil Nadu, Kathakali belongs to Kerala, Odissi belongs to Odisha, Kuchipudi belongs to Andhra Pradesh, and Manipuri belongs to Manipur. So now this is a task for you, that to know that from where the Kathak belongs. Okay, though we have already seen the 2 houses, but specifically it was originated and how it got the prominent, and particularly it is related to particular state of India. So just comment the name of that particular state. Okay, so understand all these names. Other 5 apart from the Kathak: Bharatnatyam from Tamil Nadu, Kathakali from Kerala, Odissi from Odisha, Kuchipudi from Andhra Pradesh, and Manipuri from Manipur. Okay, so these are the 6 classical dance forms. So how the paintings got the patterns and the tradition of the miniature painting evolved in the Indian subcontinent. So miniature painting are the small size paintings. So as the name indicates, that why it is called as the miniature, because they are smaller in the size, generally done in watercolor on the cloth or paper. So these small facts, sometimes straightforward, can be asked in the examination in different form, that the miniature painting can only be made on cloth but not on paper. Okay, but it is not so, because we have already seen that it can be made on with watercolor on cloth or on paper. So remember this. So the earliest miniature was on the palm leaves or wood. The Mughal Emperor Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan patronized highly skilled painters who primarily illustrated manuscripts containing the historical accounts and poetry. So what they did, that all these people, all these rulers such as Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, what they did, they gave this task. There were the prominent uh, painter in their reign, or in their rule. So what they did, they depicted different type of story, okay, and historical accounts which were there written on the manuscripts. Okay, so they converted it into some sort of story using making the paintings, miniature painting. Remember this. So portrait, court scenes of the battle, hunting, and the other aspects of the social life have been depicted. Here at the left hand side, if you will pay attention, then an image, a miniature painting has been shown where the Akbar resting during a hunt of. Okay, so it has beautifully depicted all these things, that how the people were there, and if you pay attention, then these cheetahs were also there. Okay, and all the elaborate details such as the trees, the people, and how they were holding the different things for the hunt. So it has depicted clearly. So Mughal artistic taste influenced the regional court of the Deccan and the Rajput court of Rajasthan. Okay, because what happened, that after a certain time, after 17th century or some 16th, by the beginning of the, or the later part of the 16th century and the beginning of the 17th century, we can say that the Mughal Empire started to disintegrate. Okay, so what was happening in that time, that so the people who were working in these particular courts, they started to moving out. All these prominent painters started to moving out of these courts. So they returned. So other people, the other courts and the other kingdoms which were getting developed because of the centralized tendency of the ruler was getting weak, and hence the local rulers getting developed, and they started to proclaiming themselves as the kings. Hence they also gave the patronage to these different painters who were coming to their courts. So they retained and developed their distinct characteristics. So along with all these characteristics which they brought from the Mughal, they also contain their original forms of these distinctive courts where they were serving. Okay, so portraits of the ruler, court scenes came to be painted, which we have already seen there, like the different form of hunting and the different socialization have been depicted. So apart from this, what they were also painting, they also painted the mythology, poetries were depicted at the center, such as Mewar, Jodhpur, Bundi, Kota, Kishangarh. So these are the prominent houses of that time who gave the patronage to these influential artistic people who came from the Mughal courts. So we know that there's one fabulous painting which is known as Bani Thani, which belongs to the Kishangarh art. So when we will understand the more detail about the art and culture, then we will understand all these different names which I have taken. Okay, so let us move ahead. So another region that attracted the miniature painting was the Himalayan foothills around the modern day state of Himalaya. So it was Bhasoli's school of painting. So when it got developed, so by the late 17th century, so which we have already seen that how disintegration, when it started, it gave the birth to the different regions, and hence the different art schools also got initiated or also started. So by the late 17th century, this region had developed a bold and intense style of miniature painting called as Bhasoli. So it is also called as the Bhasoli School of Art, and which particular area we are talking? We are talking about the Himachal Pradesh. Remember this. So here a beautiful image has been, a particular miniature painting has been depicted, where the Maharana Ram Singh II playing Holi at the so this is a Rajput miniature of Kota. Okay, so let us move ahead. So remember this Bhasoli School of Art, from where it belongs to? It belongs to Himachal Pradesh. Okay, so the most popular text to be painted there was Bhanu Datta's Ras Manjari. So two important details we have come across, such as the first, Bhasoli School of Art belongs to Himachal Pradesh. Second, the popular text which was painted was the Bhanu Datta's Ras Manjari. Remember this. So how the different we can say that the invaders who came to the India, and because of them how the migration of these artists happened. So some sort of information has been provided here as well, that how Nadir Shah's invasion and the conquest of the Delhi in 1739 resulted in the migration of Mughal artistic to the hills to escape the uncertainties of the plains. So here we are also seeing the migration of these people. Okay, so here an image, a beautiful image has been shown of Krishna Radha and her companion. So it is a Pahari miniature of Kangra School of Art. So we will see that also. So how the Kangra School of Art came into the existence. So the patronage, the people who came from the plains, the patronage which given by these people, which led to the foundation of the Kangra School of Painting. Okay, and the source of inspiration was the Vaishnavite tradition. So since we have already seen that there was the depiction of Lord Krishna, if you will pay attention, that here Lord Krishna has been depicted. Okay, and the other companion of Radha along with the Radha has been depicted beautifully. So we will understand the dominance of the different colors, such as now we will talk about the characteristics which will provide that what type of colors have been used and what was the purpose of using those colors. So let us see that as well. So the soft colors, such as including the blues and the greens, a lyrical treatment of themes this guy is the Kangra painting. So how this particular house is different from the Bhasoli school of art or from the Rajput school of art. Remember this. Okay, so there was a dominance of blue and green color. Okay, so if you look at this particular image, then also you will understand that how the green color and the blue color has been used. Okay, let us move ahead. So now, apart from this, what is also trying to tell us that along with all these people who came to the different part of the country, to these particular places, along with them the common masses, men and women, were also painted, or they were also painting, but their paintings did not survive. Hence we do not have the other details. Okay, now let us move ahead and let us talk about the Bengal, that how the what was the situation in Bengal and how the Bengali language developed. So there is an interesting thing that Bengali is now recognized as a language derived from Sanskrit. Early Sanskrit text, it is talking about the first millennium BC, suggested that the people of Bengal did not speak Sanskrit languages. So what was happening, that we have already seen that the language of Sanskrit got the prominence in the time of Guptas, when Gupta started to rule, because after that we will see that how the Palas will come into the prominence, and prior to that Gaudas and Senas were there. They also provide the patronage to Sanskrit language, but later on how the Bengali language independently developed, so it is providing some sort of information about that. So let us understand this gradual process. So in the 7th century, the Chinese traveler Yunzheng observed that the language related to Sanskrit were in all over the Bengal. So now how this particular culture was changing, earlier it was not being used. However, when the Yunzheng visited this particular part of the India, then he stated that in all over the region Sanskrit was the predominant language. In 1586, when the Akbar conquered the Bengal, it formed the nucleus of Bengal Suba. Okay, so while Persian was the language of the administration, Bengali developed as the regional language. So these rulers who were trying to occupy these particular parts which were further to the east or the northeast, what they were doing, that along with the language of the administration which was Persian, they were also giving the equal importance to local language or regional language, which we have already seen that how Akbar never emphasized his this particular language of Persian to the common masses, rather than the masses were using their local language, which we call as the Bengali language. Okay, thus although the Bengali is derived from the Sanskrit, it passed through several stages of evolution. How a wide range of non-Sanskrit words derived from the variety of sources including tribal languages, Persian, European languages have become the part of modern Bengali. So we understand that how gradually anything develops, because we have in the colony of the Britishers, so we have in Hindi, we have also acquired the different forms or different words from the English, and they have also got some prominent word from the Hindi language as well. So this exchange of culture has been a sign of how these particular culture interact, and they give or take in exchange of all these things such as the language, cultural things, or the celebration, or the other things which are related to art and culture. Okay, so early Bengali literature may be divided into two categories. So this particular part, just to try to understand, there is nothing sort to remember. Just to put thing into the context, we have tried to learn or trying to read this. So one indebted to the Sanskrit. So here we are talking about the two categories of Bengali literature, one indebted to Sanskrit and the another one is independent. So first it is talking about the translation of Sanskrit epics such as Mangal Kavyas were there, so Bhakti literature, okay, of Chaitanya Deva or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, okay, and the second includes the Nath literature such as the song of Manya, there was a queen, okay, her name was Manyamati, and the Gopi Chandra was the son of Manyamati, and the stories concerning the worship of Dharma Thakur. It was a local deity, okay, and the fairy tales, folk tales, and the ballads. So these are the two distinctive utilization of the particular language, that how it was used for the different purposes. Okay, so we have already understood that Manyamati was a queen, so encouraged her son Gopi Chandra to adopt the path of asceticism in the face of the variety of obstacles. And the Dharma Thakur was a popular regional deity, often worshipped in the form of a stone or a piece of wood. Remember this. So now the pirs and temples, that how gradually the pirs and the temples got the prominence, okay, or the importance in the Bengali culture. So Mughal control over the Bengal with their capital in the heart of eastern delta at the Dhaka. So earlier in this particular chapter it was talking about that in the western part which was not so fertile. So what people did, that people migrated to the eastern part. Okay, so it was much more marshy. They cut down all these areas and started to live there. Okay, so and started to cultivating rice. So how the different type of culture developed in that particular part. So it is talking about that how the when the Mughals got the control of this particular part, so their capital was at Dhaka. Okay, so they set up the mosque and served as the center of religious transformation in these areas. So we understand that what was the purpose of the temples, and similar was the purpose of the mosque as well. So now let us move ahead. So this term included, so now it is talking, first we will read the yellow portion. Okay, the cult of pirs became very popular and their shrines came to be found everywhere in Bengal. So what was the term it is referring? Now we will move on the blue portion. This term included the saint or Sufis and the other religious personalities during colonizers. So who moved from the western part to the eastern part, because there were uncertainty that how they are going to clear all these forests and how they are going to be settled there. Okay, but they got there, they got settled. Okay, and defied the soldiers and various Hindu Buddhist deities and were animistic spirits. So hence this term Pir or the Sufis were used. Okay, so Bengals also witnessed a temple building spree from the late 15th century. So just to put things into context, just need to read these things. There's nothing you need to remember out of these, but try to understand that how culture develops, just to provide this information, just to prepare the base. Okay, so that when we will move on the art and culture, you would not feel alienated that how the different cultures are getting developed and what is happening. It will provide you as a base. Okay? So there's nothing which you need to remember. So many of the modest brick and the terracotta temples in the Bengal were built with the support of several low social groups such as Kolu, oil pressers, Kansari, bell metal workers. So these two terms to try to remember: Kolu, oil pressers, and Kansari, bell metal workers. Now here beautiful images have been depicted of the temples, that what type of temples were getting developed. Okay, but we will move ahead and we will pay attention only the important part. The temples began to copy the double roofed, which was double roofed used to called as the dochala, or the four roofed also called as the chauchala, the structure of the thatched huts, which we will see here as it has been shown here. So that how Akbar got impressed with this particular type of architecture, and in several architectures he introduced this type of thatched roof. Okay, so how one particular part of or the region influenced the centralized section of the India. Okay, where the Akbar got impressed with this particular type of architecture. Okay, and he introduced this architecture in the main buildings of the Delhi and the other subsequent portion. Okay, so this led to the evolution of the typical Bengali style in the temple architecture. In some temples, particularly in Vishnupur, in Bankura district of West Bengal, such decoration reached at the high degree of excellence. So whenever there was the popularity, as they got the prominence and they got the money, they started to making the elaborate structures and the beautification of these temples. Okay, so fish as a food. So this is an interesting portion. Let us understand. So Bengal is a riverine plain, which we understand, which produces a plenty of rice and fish. Okay, and the terracotta plaque on the wall of temples and the viharas, which was the Buddhist vihara, depicts the scene of fish being dressed and taken up to the market in baskets. So understand that what is the importance of fish in the Bengali culture. So it is trying to provide the information about that. Okay, and what type of exceptions was have to mean by the Brahmins. So let us understand that as well. So Brahmins were not allowed to eat the non-vegetarian food, but popularity of fish in the local diet made the Brahmanical authorities relax this prohibition for the Bengal Brahmins. And the Brihad Dharma Purana. Remember this particular Purana, Brihad Dharma Purana. A 13th century Sanskrit text from Bengal permitted the local Brahmanas to eat the certain varieties of fish. So we understand that how particular food habit of a particular area became so popular that the Brahminical text have to given the place, and exception was made for these Brahmins who were residing in the part of Bengal. Okay, so here a fish being dressed up. So at the right hand side, image has been shown. We are talking about this particular image. So fish being dressed for the domestic consumption. A terracotta plaque has been shown. Okay, so Vishalakshi temple of the Aramba. Remember this. So we have understood the different schools, how the paintings got developed, how the miniature form of paintings also got developed into the different regions. Okay, and what were the conditions in which these people have to move to the different part of the Indian subcontinent. And we have also seen the development of the different language and the Bengali language, that how it was influenced and how it got developed. Okay, so try to remember these important portions and the things which we have just read. So whatever we have understood and whatever the important terms which I have underlined about the temple and about the schools, try to remember all these terms. Okay, I will see you into the next chapter. Till then, if you have not liked and subscribed the channel, then please like and subscribe, and also share it with your friends and fellow aspirants. Till then, bye.